This video focuses on taking everything we have learned in the last couple of videos regarding the DOM and how we manipulate it, how we get references to elements, and we're going to put that all together, and we are going to use all that knowledge to actually modify elements in the browser with a focus on adding elements to the DOM without being destructive. So in the video just before this one, we learned about inner text, which completely wipes out all text within an element. And we learned about inner HTML, and inner HTML completely wipes out all HTML, all sub-children or sub-elements within a parent element. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes that works when you are receiving information back from a web server or a web service or an API, and you need to completely replace a large section or block of your HTML page with generated HTML from some other location. But most of the time, when we are manipulating our HTML directly using JavaScript that we write ourselves, we're going to want to just simply add new elements, remove elements, and update existing elements without completely wiping out all child elements within a parent element. So we're going to learn how to do that today using new functions that are provided to us on the document, or the DOM, the document object model, as well as a function that is available on the HTML elements that live inside of the DOM in order to add new child elements to that. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to use the same demonstration project that we've been using. It's called DOM example. It's a zip archive that's included with these videos. If you want to follow along, make sure you download that, unzip it, and then open up that folder using Visual Studio Code. That'll become the base of your project, and you should have all of these files that you see on my screen right now. You should have all of those available to you, and we are going to focus on the index.html, which is what we have been doing. We're also going to be using the preview server plugin. If you don't have that installed, make sure you get it installed. If you right-click on your HTML, you should be able to click on that, and we should be able to get that DOM example up in our browser right now. And we will be using the Chrome Developer Tools, so go ahead and open those up. Now, let's go ahead and plan out what we want to do today. I don't want to work on this head section, and I don't want to work on the data section. We're going to keep working with this intro section. So I've gone ahead and collapsed the other sections so that we can see more of the HTML right here on my screen. So we're going to be working with this intro section, and what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we want to add new elements to this intro section without destroying the paragraph in H1, and we're going to want those new elements to be underneath the paragraph tag inside of this section. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a new H2, and we're going to have this new section called code. And then underneath that, we are going to have some new paragraph tags, and inside those paragraph tags, we are going to have some content. We haven't decided what the content is yet. Maybe we'll just put some filler text in that, or some holder text. So let's say source code examples go here. All right, and we're waiting for those source code samples to be generated and returned to us. So we're just going to put some placeholder text there. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that H2 and that P tag, but we don't want to come back and add or edit the HTML document itself. We want to add these dynamically to the page. So let's not add them to the HTML. We just did that so we knew what we were doing. Let's leave the HTML page the way it is when it gets loaded in the browser, and let's add those dynamically using, I'm trying to get to my browser, using JavaScript in the browser. So let's go ahead and let's reload the page, make sure that nothing changed. We still just have these two elements in our section. So we've got our H1 and our P tag. And before we dive into the code, let's talk about how this works by looking at our DOM example diagram where we see the DOM tree all laid out for us. And let's talk about how this works, all right? So we are going to be adding a new h2 to our DOM. We are also going to be adding a p tag that holds that placeholder text. Now, you might be inclined to think that when you add a new HTML element to the DOM, it's going to be added to the body, and you're instantly going to be able to see that show up somewhere down here in the hierarchy, maybe at the very bottom of the hierarchy. The reality is that these tags are added to the DOM, but they haven't been visually rendered yet. In fact, they're kind of just sitting here. They're on the body, well, they're on the HTML document, and they are visual tags, so they are associated with the DOM in the body, because that's where all the visual tags are. But because they haven't actually been placed in the document yet, they're actually just kind of sitting out here, attached to the document, but not yet injected into the visual hierarchy of what we already have in the page. So although they are kind of already attached to the body, they're really just attached to the document, and they're just sitting there, and they haven't been rendered yet. So we can see that when we go over here and we say, let my h2 equal document dot create element. We'll do an h2. It's the new element we're going to do. And then my h2 dot inner text. And we're going to say code. All right. So now we've got our my h2, we've got an inner text. But you can see that even though we created that element on the document, we do not see it here visually anywhere. And that is because we need to, before we do that, we need to inject it into the HTML that we have. So let's pull up our last one. Okay, so we've got these two, they're attached to the body. What needs to happen now is, in order for them to be visually seen inside of our browser, is they need to be placed somewhere. And in this case, we want to add them to this section tag, right? That's what we decided we wanted to do. So we're going to add them to the section tag, and as soon as we add them to the section tag, what's going to happen is the DOM is going to alert the rendering engine, which we have over here. It's going to alert it that there was a change to the DOM, and the browser window is going to be re-rendered, and we should see that new element added to the DOM. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get a reference to that section. So let's do main section, and we're going to do our document.query selector, and we're looking for the ID of intro. And that should give us back the main section. Now on main section, we have an append child function. And that append child function, what it does is it takes a reference to an HTML element that we have added to our DOM, and then it adds it as a child to whatever the element is that we're calling the function on. So right here we can see instantly, as soon as we called that, we have the new h2 element added as the code text right here inside of our HTML document. So now we've got that injected into our visual DOM. And then we wanted to add a p tag, so let's add a new one. Let new paragraph equal document dot create element. We're going to go ahead and create a p tag. And then we want to give that p tag some information or some content. So let's do an inner text equals, what was it, exam or demo. Demo code goes here. That's our placeholder text. And again, we don't see it show up anywhere in our HTML document. You'd think it would show up here because we added it to the document. We just haven't stuck it into the visual hierarchy yet. So we're going to add it to our main section again. So let's do main section append child, and this time we're going to add new paragraph. Go ahead and hit enter. And now we see that we have demo code goes here. So really cool. We can now modify the contents of an HTML element that we have a reference to, which right here we've got a reference to the elements that we create, and then we have a reference to our main section, and then we add those new elements to our main section, which then injects them into that element. And because they are new elements, they actually go in order of what's already in that element when it comes to child elements. So let's go back to our document really quick. We see that in order in our section, we've got an H1 followed by a P tag. And if we look at what we had before, what would really happen is that H1 or that H2 would end up right here in the hierarchy, right here. And then the P tag would end up right here in the hierarchy. And we see, based on this, because we did the append child, because we were appending, which always puts it at the end of the ordered list, we see that the code follows the paragraph tag, and then the new paragraph tag follows the new H2 tag. Exactly what we would expect. So this is an easy way to modify the content of an element by adding new elements without messing with the elements, the child elements that already exist under that parent element.